Tuperas y tuperas, today on DOOP By The River, the Philadelphia Union gave us a scare, but they still prevail. Come on now. They got the job done against the Chicago Fire. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to look at the new playoff format by the MLS. Not bad, MLS, not bad. We're also going to take a look ahead at this upcoming Sunday's huge matchup. Still, it's like every match is more and more important for the Philadelphia Union. We're going to go up to Coulumbus and face off against the Coulumbus crew yet again. Another big match for our blue and gold. And don't go anywhere, guys, because you do not want to miss this episode of DOOP By The River. And let's get this started. That is right. Welcome, everyone, to DOOP By The River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, brought to you by Philly Sports Network. And before we move forward, guys, do not forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast. It would truly mean the world to us. So don't forget to rate and subscribe. Today, guys, of course, I am joined by my right-hand man. I got Mr. Tim Lovinguth on the ones and twos. What's going on, brother? How are we feeling today?
Feeling good. Another Union win. It was a little sloppy. Sloppy, but it's 3 points. That's all you can ask for. And it doesn't hurt when the other teams that are around you drop points. So I'm excited to talk about all of this and what it means for playoffs and supporter shield, dare I say. So I'm excited, man.
Yes, sir. The supporter shield. It's going to come home, baby. It's going to come home. We're going to get to that in just a second. But, guys, we're also joined today. The guy to the left of me, I guess we could say, Mr. Justin Freiberg. Justin, what's going on, my buddy? My guys got, I think, Talent Energy, the last day of Talent Energy, playoff day, one of the best days of my life. Justin, what's going on, baby? How you feeling today?
Not much, man. Excited to be a part of the PSN family here, and just looking to talk about our first place Union. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yes, sir. We're excited to have you here, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm hope you're ready for this ride here, man, because we get a little crazy here at PSN, you know what I'm saying? All right, guys, let's dive right into it, man, because, look, this was we had a feeling, we had an assumption that this might be a trap game. We know what it is when it comes to the Chicago Fire and the Philadelphia Union, but, guys, it was a bit of a trap game. It was a sloppy game. We saw Chicago go down 10 men. We saw Chicago tie this game up. Francisco Calvo, we want to thank you for the red card, which allowed Chicago to go down to 10 men. That Robert Barrich guy is pretty good, Tim. But Corey Burke got a goal. Yeah, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go, man. Let's go. So first, let's just talk about I want to talk about the performance of the Union, because obviously this wasn't the best performance yet by the Philadelphia Union, especially after that 5-0 thumping. But still, at the end of the day, you got the W. So, Justin, I'll allow you to take this one here. So, what was your thought, just briefly, on the performance of the Union?
It was definitely a tale of two halves. The first half, I can definitely say, was very ugly. The Union did, for at least the first 15 minutes, I was thinking in my head, this is a trap game, and it felt like it. The handball in the box definitely helped change things. It wasn't pretty. It deflected, but based on the current rules, and I'll say this I'll say that Bedoya's situation kind of has been mirrored around the league in a few situations. This one was definitely a correct call. Casper, as I say, gets off the schneid, scores his goal. Then Francisco Calvo does whatever he did. I don't think it was truly a red card, but I mean, I can understand.
Take it.
Yeah, it was sneaky, but you know what? He did it. And then after that, it seemed like Chicago was again kind of on the front foot. Andre makes a great save, and then Jordy Mihalovic, I don't know how he snuck back there. I think that's poor marking. And then Barrich, I mean, there's not a whole lot stopping that. I mean, that's right there. Second half definitely seemed like you needed some subs. It was big. Corey coming on was nice. Ray, hopefully not too bad with the injury. That was a little concerning at half.
Yeah.
And Brendan with some nice control around the box, throws it out to Olivier.
Yeah,
and
man.
Corey, I mean, my lord, the man the man could have pulled out a grill and started barbecuing for the entire river. And the amount of time that he had on that back post, I don't get it. But you know what? Heading that ball into the ground was smart because Shuttleworth was over there. Heading the ball into the ground, gave it a nice little bounce. Scory Burke gets back.
Yes.
And then
This a confidence builder at that point for that first goal there, man.
Oh, but it was 100%. And then we're as Liam would say, squeaky bum time for basically the last 15 minutes because man,
shouts to Liam.
Chicago really pressed hard. Again, hopefully Andre okay. It looked like he jammed his hand in the netting there. I've had that. It can be a bit rough. I don't think anything's broken. I mean, definitely, I think he might have, because the way his hand kind of got in there, it was a little awkward. But we'll hope he's
luckily
okay.
We got Bendick face right.
Yeah, we got Bendick man bun. Whatever's going on with Joe there, man. It looked a little weird, but overall, not the prettiest performance. But hey, pretty doesn't have to mean pretty can mean not 3 points. So I'll take ugly and 3 points any day.
Yeah, absolutely. The lineup was really interesting too here. So once the lineup came out, I was a little surprised. Obviously, no El Brujo Martinez, and instead we saw Jack Elliott get the start at the 6. And then obviously no Jamiro Montero. So we saw Aronson at the left shuttle midfielder and Fontana at the 10. So there was an interesting dynamic in the midfield. But I guess I kind of first want to talk about, because I think everyone felt the same way when they first saw the lineup, was El Brujo Martinez, and there was a report of a positive COVID case with the Philadelphia Union. So you add 1 and 1, and you put 2 together. So guys, then it came out, it was official that he was the one that tested positive. And of course, you got to think back to the whole drama that we all went through with the Federation of Venezuela and the Philadelphia Union. Of course, FIFA stepped in, and we didn't want him to go, but he still went. He came back, he quarantined, and we saw him in that game. We saw him come back, and he was fine. And then this happened. So, I mean, Tim, I'll give this one to you, man. What is your thoughts here on the positive COVID case with El Brujo Martinez?
I mean, it's kind of hard to take. We let this player go. He goes off, all around the world, different planes and everything.
Travel to 3 countries, three separate countries.
Yeah, in a very short amount of time. And who's to say it even actually happened there? It could have happened when he came back. If he was not, quarantining correctly, we don't know how that stuff happens, or even if it was when he was back in training, or, something, maybe he, got in contact with someone then, because he was kind of back for a little bit here. So, it was, disheartening, I would say. But, a lot of people will jump to, his time with Venezuela. That could have played a factor into it, but we'll never be 100% sure on that.
I just think we're still a little bit bitter because he didn't even get a single minute to play with Venezuela.
That's a come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That's more of what it is, I think. But to your point on the lineup, the next man up comes in, and it's Jack Elliott at the 6, and we saw it a few weeks ago. It wasn't terrible. Obviously, he played there in college, so he's pretty comfortable for a guy that size to play that position. And he did the job. And while the game was pretty sloppy, and I think the people that kind of got thrown into the starting 11 maybe in a little bit of a shock there. We knew that Aronson would probably play the shuttler position because Jamiro was out on yellow card suspension, which meant that it was most likely that Anthony Fontana would come in. Unfortunately, those guys just didn't have a lot of chemistry, it seemed like, against this Fire team that only wanted to foul. Like, that's pretty much all they did was foul the Union and then flop whenever they were kind of contacted. So it was a tough game of soccer that wasn't really soccer for some points. But I think, credit goes to Jim Curtin for making the correct substitutions in the second half. Like we said, Bizo came on for Ray Gaddis, who came off with what looked a little bit like an injury, right at halftime. And then Corey Burke comes in and gets the goal. So those two were, in directly there for the game winner. And then even Andrew Wooten coming in as the second striker, he cleared the ball off the line in right at the 90th minute, like the craziest circumstance where Fabian Herbers for Chicago is right there. And we're like, no, Fabian, don't do it.
Tim, come on. He can't, Andrew Wooten can't seem to put the ball in the net, but he seems to be able to keep it out of our net. I'll take that any day.
That's really funny that you say that, because I saw someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but they brought up that they think Andrew Wooten's more like an 8 that just happens to play the striker position. Like he's just up top, but he's more of an 8 because he likes to kind of run into those spaces, come back for the ball, then facilitate a little bit. So
and he has limited mobility.
Yeah. So yeah, no, the lineup, while it was kind of a shock with the El Brujo news and then everything else that happened, the Union were still able to grind out a win.
That's the important part. The 3 points is definitely the important part there. I look, I really wanted to get back to the whole call-up situation because look, of course we're going to discuss that because of course he's the only player that has been traveling outside the country, and it's a concern because we're hearing rumors of other players on this team. Jamiro Monteiro. We heard a rumbling of maybe Jakob Glesnes, Andre Blake, Corey Bird. So this is obviously a concern because we're going to have to deal with this situation. Maybe not as dramatic as Venezuela was, but we're going to have to deal with the situation going forward with some of these other players. So it's definitely something to look at here, guys. But I mean, I think Chicago, they came in and they had a game plan. And, the Union just got done playing an emotional game Sunday night against Toronto FC. Or sorry, Saturday night against Toronto FC. So going up against the Chicago Fire team, and we talked about how this team has given us fits before. Last year we went into Bridgeton and they put 4 goals up against us. That Robert Barish guy is not too bad. We were talking about him, Tim. We were surprised that he actually had 9 goals. Now he's got 10. But he had a solid game for Chicago for sure. But this is like we talked about it because this is a great learning experience. I feel like before the Union might, walk away with the draw. Like, you think about maybe it's not like this isn't the DC game where, DC got ahead of you and then you found a miraculous goal by Mark McKenzie. But I like the Union going through situations like this because these are things that help teams build a stronger imprint. Yeah. And it's gonna pay off down the end when we're talking about playoffs. Yeah. Any last thoughts on this game here against the Chicago Fire, guys? I'll let you go first, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, it was again nice to see Fabian come in. I mean, I know he's been playing well for Chicago. I believe CJ was out on paternity leave. I was hearing.
Oh, congratulations to him.
So it would have been nice to see. But I mean, listen, Chicago. I can see why they're fighting for one of those last spots. They definitely, Baric. I remember in the MLS's back tournament, people could not believe, they thought it was a waste of a DP. Yeah. Him, Valer Madron. There was all these guys going in, and they're like, these guys are waste of DPs. You have all these, homegrowns that they're signing. Why not play them? And Baric, there's been some shaky moments, but it seems like they've got it down. Jordan Mihalovic definitely seems to be coming into that form again where he was getting called up for the men's national team.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think they're a good team that definitely could maybe upset a team in the first round.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, but I think definitely at the very least they're going to compete for that last spot. But we'll see. But I definitely this was a trap game that you avoided. Yeah. Thank God. But it is what it is, and you got the 3 points, and that's really all that matters in the end of the day.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, guys, with that win, it keeps our hopes and dreams alive for Supporter Shield here in Philadelphia. And we got some news today, a new playoff format for the MLS. And here I will, of course, pass it on to my man. I'm going to call you our MLS insider. Our MLS insider, Tim Lovinguth. Tim, break this bad John down.
Yeah, so this has been sort of rumored to be happening for a while, ever since Colorado kind of had their COVID outbreak that had them not playing games. I think they missed 5 or 6 games.
Yeah,
so
I think it was definitely 5. Thank you, Colorado.
Yeah, 5 games, and it really screwed up a lot of the Western Conference teams, which is why if you look at the standings, obviously, Colorado has only played 15 games. And then other teams now, instead of playing 20 or 21, have only played 19. So there's a few teams that are like that. So MLS had to figure out a way to make this season end on time. And the best way for them to do that was to change the way the standings are laid out, instead of it being just, points from the wins and ties and losses. It goes to points per game. And essentially what that means is you kind of, you get your points per game ranking, throughout the season. And you if you're a good team, you'll have a greater points per game, and not so good, a lesser points per game. It's sort of, a fair-ish way, I would say,
Ish
to do
is
this.
the
It's
right
not
word.
as fair. Yeah, it's not as fair as if it would be the normal way, obviously, but 2020 isn't normal. So MLS felt that this would be the decision to go with here. The thing that's cool about this too is they still have the normal standings like tiebreakers. So total number of wins per match played is still the highest thing. So if people are tied on points per game, then it's how many matches have you won throughout the many games that you've played. And then it kind of goes down that list. Goal differential and other things like that are there. So that's what that sort of looks like now. And it's kind of made things not more difficult for the Union, but it's added more teams actually in play for the Supporter Shield and for playoff consideration, if you actually look at it that way. So like Justin, you were just saying about Chicago and how they're a fringe MLS playoff team. Well, with that change, they actually have the last spot in the Eastern Conference, even though they're tied on points with Inter Miami and DC United. They have a better points per game, so they get the spot as of right now with a few games to play here.
That's what I'm not understanding. Like, I get that the Western Conference was affected severely by Colorado's inability to play the games, but it seemed, the Eastern Conference, the Columbus Orlando game was the only game, to the best of my knowledge, in the Eastern Conference that was rescheduled. So
Chicago and Minnesota did get a postponement as well. I know that's both conconferences, but that's the only other Eastern Conference team I know got affected.
Exactly, but to the point that they've done the league-wide implementation, and I get it. It creates a fairer balance. Just to me, it seems it. Not to sound a little jaded, coming from a Union podcast where this is the closest we've been to a trophy in our outside of an Open Cup. It just seems very. It's a harder decision. I understand the complete fairness. It just from a Union perspective that it's, well, this is mostly affecting the Western Conference. So why are we getting lumped in? And single entity at its finest. I get it, but it's one of those things that I just had to I looked at it and went like, oh, the Western Conference will do that, and they'll just and the Union will still be in situation, and then it's league wide, and I just went, hold the phone here, like what's going on, but. It is what it is. Don Garber loves a single entity, Tam Gam, all that jazz. So,
well, yeah, it is what they've determined to be the most fair. But the nice thing is, at least for the Union, is when you look at points per game, the Union, obviously, they're in the Shield leading spot right now. They have 2.1 points per game, which is obviously the best in MLS, which is why they're up there. And I got to give a little shout out some other Union beat writer love to Joe Tanzi, because he kind of broke some of the numbers down. So obviously the Union have 2.1 points right now, and he broke it down as to where they could finish with if they win just one of the two games that's left, then the Union would finish with 2.04. If they finish with a win and a tie, it would be 2.09, and then obviously if they win both games, it would be the greatest margin, so it would be 2.17. And then when you look at that and you look at the other teams, Toronto FC's max is 2.04. So they would have to win both of their games that are left to just barely come to where the Union would be if the Union win one match. The teams in the West, their maxes aren't above 2. Well, Seattle is right at 2. So if they win the rest of their games that they get to play, they won't be anywhere near the Union. So the Union are legitimately in the driver's seat, which is crazy, crazy, crazy to think about. And it leads us to the point of the Union could clinch this on this coming Sunday. Like, that's crazy.
It could be pandemonium this upcoming Sunday. It could be pandemonium. You know what's crazy too? I'm looking at this right now, and you're talking about the whole logistics of all this. This does help Colorado because now they're in the freaking
that's the thing. We were I'm saying shouts to the Sons of Ben Discord if y'all are not on it. Hit it up. It's a fun time, and it's definitely gets a little wild. We were actually talking about this all last night and going through the various computations of what the points per game could be. Mm-hmm. And I mean we got to exactly what Tansy said, but we summed it up and we're like, wait a minute, all the Union have to do is win Sunday, and it's theirs. Like regardless of anyone else, they win one of the two games. That's it. Now, obviously, it helps you win both games. You clear yourself even further. But I mean, come on, guys. Can you remember a time where we've ever been in a situation where we're gonna get a trophy before the season actually ends? And yeah, I know Open Cup, disappointment. We've been there 3 times, but the Supporter Shield, as much as I've kind of been poo-pooing on the Supporter Shield, that I didn't always think it meant a lot.
We have to. We're rivals with the Red Bulls. We have to be like that.
Exactly. And then I looked at this year, and I looked at the way I was listening to Extra Time. When I go on my daily walks after work, I listen to podcasts, and Extra Time made a very good point that with all the stuff that happened with the SSF and the Supporter Shield, it's made it more apparent that the Supporter Shield actually matters to not only the fans, but the players and the teams. I mean, Greg Vandy made a very good point in that, the players were working hard for this. They haven't seen their families in God knows how long, especially for the Canadian teams. This is a very big sacrifice to them to play the sport that they're paid for, that they love to play. I mean, if this season doesn't mean that the Supporter Shield means a lot, it's definitely changed my mind. That I don't know what's going to change anyone's mind when it comes to the Supporter Shield.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I understand why the MLS did this to keep it fair for all the teams in this league. You know why I love it though, guys? Because this is going to continue confusing the crap out of all the Euro snobs here in America. They always keep coming at our league. Why do you run it like a professional American league? Because we have to. What do you want us to do? We're still in the United States. So we're going to keep confusing the crap out of these Euro snobs. Look at our crazy system here, man. Look at our crazy system. I absolutely love him.
Hey, they got promotion playoffs, so they can't say they don't got playoffs. So you know what? Euro snobs can kiss my behind. I might support European teams, but gotta support the home league, baby.
Absolutely, it's all about your backyard, man. I fully believe that. Good stuff here. Dang, all that matters is what you guys just said. You win Sunday, we got the freaking Shield. Now I'm going to tell you why in a second. Why I don't want to win it Sunday. So let's move forward here, guys. So this upcoming Sunday, the Philadelphia Union are back in action, and it's going to be another big matchup. I feel like we keep talking about big matches with the Union, especially in the last month. But look, we know we lost to the Coulumbus Crew. I believe that was our only loss since we've come.
Yep, 1-0 on a.
Yeah, that was our only loss since the return of MLS, which is kind of crazy.
We lost to Toronto too.
Oh, true. We lost to Toronto too. That's why I was going over my head. But anyways, 2 losses since we came back. That's pretty crazy, guys. Absolutely pretty crazy what the Union doing this year. But regardless, that Coulumbus Crew loss up in Coulumbus 2 months ago or whatever it was still it still stings a little bit. It still does sting because I felt like we shouldn't have lost that game. I think that both teams were still pretty close in that game. Coulumbus got the better of us. Zella Ryan, we know we're going to get to in a second. He's an absolute beast, but this is a pretty big matchup here, guys. And we just talked about the implications of what could happen, come Sunday night. But guys, I'll give this one to Tim here. Yeah. Tim, I just need to know, how do we beat this Coulumbus Crew team, man? How do we beat them?
It's a great question. This game, and I've said it before on the podcast because we've previewed a game in Coulumbus this year on the podcast. It's weird that there's 2 games in Columbus, but it is what it is.
And yet we pay New England 5 times. So tell me
Yeah,
about it.
I mean,
I was going to say, it's not as weird as that.
yeah, it is not as weird as that. But yeah, I mean, you say, how can the Union win this game in Coulumbus? And that's a tough question to ask or even to answer, because the Union have not played well in Coulumbus throughout their history. They really haven't. I always bring it up whenever we preview a Coulumbus match. I did go there once for a Union Coulumbus match, and it was brutal. It was like the middle of the summer, and it was like 0-0 for most of the game, and then Coulumbus like scored 2 late goals and they won, and I was all like, it was awful.
Well, Tim, you're also in Ohio, so I mean.
Yeah, I was also in Ohio on the in that old stadium on their fairgrounds. It was an interesting place to be. No, but for the Union to win this match, to be honest, it's gonna come down to the players they have available. And I hate to say that. I know we're still we don't know what's going on with injuries. Is Ray Gaddis going to be okay? Is Andre Blake going to be able to play? Brujo is probably still going to be out because he's still going to be positive and in that quarantine time again. So does Jack Elliott come back in at the 6? Probably. I think he looked okay. Like I said, he'll probably have that spot. Jamira will be back in, which is great. I think Bedoya picked up another yellow and might not be able to play. I have to check on the suspension and everything.
I think he did, but I thought it does it shrink even further? I know it was like 2 in the span.
I don't know.
Shrink to 1 in the next few games.
All I know is he has the most yellow cards out of like anyone this season. I'm pretty sure.
Which is amazing considering I thought El Brujo was our Diego Char.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yellow cards and red cards.
That's very true. I think so. That's really what it's going to come down to, is who's going to be on the field and who's really going to step up. That's really what it's been in the past at Coulumbus. The Union have never really had a player that really steps up and takes the moment. And I think they have enough players on this team that can do that this year. We've seen on the road, Sergio Santos usually, can step up a little bit. He did it in Toronto or Connecticut, but Toronto. And, we've seen Brendan Aronson step up a lot. We've seen Fontana step up against New England in New England. And for Coulumbus, they haven't really had a full strength squad, and they haven't been that great recently. In their last 7 games, they only have 1 win and 2 draws, which means they have 4 losses in their last 7 games. That's really unlike them, and it kind of is attributed to a few things. One, they've been without Zelarayan and Nagby for a little bit. They've been injured. They're back on the bench. They were on the bench for their last game that they did lose to DC United. But if they are ready to go, they're going to be in the squad against the Union, and that's going to be, a big concern and probably a tipping point, you would say. But yeah, like this Coulumbus team hasn't looked good when they haven't had their playmakers on the field for them. And when it's been mostly Zardes by himself, maybe Pedro Santos at times, they haven't been able to do too much. Their defense is usually pretty spot on. I know Mensah has been playing out of his mind this year. Just got a new contract for that. But they're kind of beatable now, and we'll just really have to see what it looks like on the day, because this matchup just isn't there for the Union at times.
Yeah, man. What are your thoughts here, Justin, on how the Union should stop the Coulumbus Crew here?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. For one, why the hell are we traveling back to Coulumbus? and we play New England 5 times. I'm just gonna say, MLS, what's going on here? As for stopping them, I mean, listen, they're a team. They don't score a lot of goals. They don't give up a lot of goals.
Yeah.
So their losses have definitely been close. It's been a lot of late stuff. On the back line, I mean, Eloy Room, their goalie, has, again, been one of the few bright spots, a guy that definitely came out of nowhere, but, playing the Gold Cup for Curacao, but guys playing out of his mind. On that back line, Jonathan Mensah, I think potentially Defender of the Year, at the very least, potentially a shout for MVP. I know they've lost Josh Williams to suspension.
Mm-hmm.
He's suspended the last 2 games, and his suspension was carried additional 2 games.
Dang.
But you still have Harrison Awful. yes, they have lost Darton Nagbe and Lucas Zelarayan, Pedro Santos, Sebastian Berhalter.
Mhm.
They do have some options. I definitely think you see what they are without Nagbe and Zelarayan. It's definitely a different roster. Nagbe is one of the best ball winners and distributors in the league, and Zelarayan has been worth his money. Zardes, I've let my feelings known on Zardes. I think he's a good striker for the club level, but never really for the national team. But he's been a bit iffy, and they've been rotating him in and out. And because they have all these options. I believe they've Derek Etienne, Alashe. I mean, they've been rotating guys in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
But how you stop them? I think you clog the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they have some good, Harrison Awful loves to bomb on the wings, but I mean, you saw the last time, when they played in Coulumbus. For most, I mean, again, the one goal is off a freakish deflection that loops over Andre. But outside of that, I mean, they were really you clogged the middle, and Coulumbus was just trying to cross it in. And now you have the team, you have the center backs, you have the guys that can clear the ball out, no problem. So I would give crosses. I mean, that's how the Union used to play. You cross in the box all day and pray for someone to get on the end of it. I will take that any day. Clogging the middle against Coulumbus disrupts their passing lanes. I mean, they love to do those 1-2 and go right through the middle.
Well, I will say though, I'm glad that you bring that up, but my concern is that Columbus is going to get a healthy Zelarayan, right? It would be great to have Brujo Martinez. I feel like the speed and his tenacity he has would be great to contain a guy like Zelarayan. I love what Jack Elliott's been doing, but we all know Jack Elliott is not maybe the fastest guy out there, right? Yeah. So that is what's going to concern me. A guy like a 10, like Zelarayan, coming at the center of our defense. I mean, I could see maybe Jack playing a little bit more back against Chicago. I saw him, and I like that. I like that he was gambling a little bit. He was feeling himself. You saw him push up the attack a little bit more. But against this team, that concerns me right there a little bit. That's the matchup that I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah, it's a good one to look for. I think just to move on. For me, when I think of the match and what I think is going to happen, I think if Zelarayan and Nagbe don't start again, I think the Union have a very, very good chance at winning this match. Whereas if Zelarayan and Nagbe are in, I think it's a draw. I
think one of the two of them starts. I don't think. I mean, again, I caught the end of that game, obviously after the Union game, but I think if they're going to do it, I think because listen, Coulumbus is basically guaranteed one of the top 4 spots.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna try to, and they have no shot at supporter shield anymore.
Right.
So I think at this point you're just trying to keep third. You're trying to, and maybe second. I mean, I'm not sure, depending on if Toronto slips, if I don't know the goal differential, if Coulumbus could get up to 2.
Coulumbus has better goal differential than Toronto, so that could happen.
So they may. I mean, they obviously, I think they were at 35 points.
Yeah.
So I mean, they would need both wins, but I feel like at this point, I think they know that they're probably going to be third, and so they're at least hosting one playoff game. So I think one of the two will start. I think if they're going to start someone, I think you want Zelarayan on early to try to disrupt and try to, thread those passes. And then if you're up earlier, it's a close game, you throw on Nagbe, and the guy's going to be a disruptor. And he'll allow Zelarayan to do what he does, because he breaks up the passes, brings it to Zelarayan, and Zelarayan's going to be, try to be feeding Jassy all game long. So I don't think both are going to start, but John, to your point, I do think if Zelarayan starts, I think Jack is going to have to be a bit better because he got a bit lucky. I mean, he did get a yellow, but he was lucky not to see a second because, I mean, eventually the fouls add up and eventually the ref will look at it and go, okay, I've given you 10 fouls, and now this one finally, I'm going to give you your second yellow, because usually they're not willing on a yellow card to give it right, within the first few fouls. But I think that is the biggest question mark, is who's going to be playing at the 6 against Zelarayan if Zelarayan is starting.
Yep.
Hey, do we have any word on Craval, Tim?
I haven't heard anything since last week. I know he was still out as of, or I should say, the midweek press conference, since that midweek one. I haven't heard anything. I know there's another, there'll be another press conference either tomorrow or Saturday before the Sunday game here. So we'll get some word on Craval and most likely the other Union players that are dealing with some injury here.
All right. Well, guys, look, let's get to it, man. I want to hear some predictions. Let's hear it, Justin. I'll let you go first. Give me your prediction of this match here.
I was the whole time we in our pre-show meeting, I was debating back and forth. I said there was going to be a draw and a win in between the games. I'm not 100% sure. I'm now going to go with a 1-0 Union win.
Hey.
I think it's going to be a very scrappy goal. I think it's going to be an ugly goal. And I think Casper's going to bundle it over the line. Someone's going to be bundling that ball over the line. It's going to be ugly. It'll be a in the 6th challenge, and he's just going to kind of get just a slight knee. He's going to get a knee on it. It's going to be a body part that's not exactly used to scoring. And the Union, it's going to be like an 85th minute goal, and then the Union are going to throw everybody behind the ball, a la Mourinho park the bus, and we're gonna, wait it out. I was gonna say a draw, but I think 1-0, and we quickly hop on the charter plane back to Chester, hopefully with the 3 points.
Did you just say Mourinho park the bus?
I did say Mourinho park the bus.
What about it's now what's his name? Jab Stamp, the coach of FC Cincinnati. He's the park of the buster now.
As Mourinho was a coach long before Jaap Stam ended his playing career, and as a Man U fan, for someone who witnessed Mourinho parking the bus, that's always my frame of reference, and it's always usually pretty solid.
Well, Stam's got the broke down like rusty ass bus, the hoopy bus. That's what he's got.
The bus that's been stripped of its wheels.
Mourinho's got those luxurious, like, you ever go to like those Eagles tailgates, they like really like pimp out their tailgate bus. That's what Mourinho's got right
now. John, he's just put a glorious coat of paint on it. It's still a bit rusted. He's just doing a little cosmetic changes to hide the actual mechanical concerns.
Awesome. Tim, what's your prediction, man?
I've sort of like Justin kind of been going back and forth, and I really do think it will be determined by the personnel on the field. If Zelarayan is on for Coulumbus, I think the Union are in for a tougher match, and I think Zelarayan finds a way to score a goal. If he's not, I think the Union win 1-0, like you said, Justin. So I'm like still torn. Like, and you know what? The last few games, I haven't given a straight prediction, and the Union have won. So I'm going to keep it like that. I'm going to say if Zelarayan is not on the field to start, that the Union win. And if he is, then they get a draw. That's
Come on, Tim. That's what I've been brought onto the show. I got to demand a straight answer from you. Come on, man.
Hey, that's a straight answer. I'm just leaving it up to fate.
All right, guys. I'm going to give you my prediction here. Now, Tim knows very well. I usually come up here and I get really positive, and I'm like, yeah, let's go, Union. We're going to kill whoever we're playing. This time, it's a little different for me. Look, I don't want the Union to win the Supporter Shield on Sunday. I want the Union to hold off, and let's come back home next Sunday against the New England Revolution, against Bruce Arena and those stinking New Englanders. And I'm going to have a special guest it's at Subaru Park with me, who is becoming a passionate Union fan like myself. So I want the Union to draw. Don't lose, but don't win either, but draw. Crazy concept. I think the Union, I hope and I think the Union are going to draw. It's going to be a 1-1 match here for the Union. And I want to celebrate the supporter shield at Subaru Park. I want to yell at Tim all the way 139. Yo, brother, we fucking did it. Let's go, baby. Like, that's what I want to do. So I think we're going to draw this upcoming Sunday, and then we're going to come home, which we'll preview that match, of course, guys, here on DOOP By The River.
Of course we will. But
of course. So I hope we draw here. It's crazy, Tim. I know it's wild.
John, it's Bruce Arena. He's gonna crush our dreams. So why would you want that?
He'd never crush our dreams. Bruce Arena doesn't crush our dreams. Bruce Arena gets his dreams crushed by the Union. That's how this works now.
Specifically, Anthony Fontana.
Yes.
He got his heart crushed by the U.S. men's national team. He's about to get his heart crushed again by the U.S. or America's team, America's soccer team. That's
America's soccer team, the Union.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right, guys. So to end this episode here, I figured, guys, let's give a highlight to the MLS. This is an amazing league. We were talking commissioners earlier. We're talking about Garber, and I was listening to, of course, you know me, guys, listen to Philly Sports Radio, and obviously the embarrassment that the Major League Baseball is. And what's his name? No, the commissioner of baseball. Why am I blanking
Rob Manfred?
He's terrible. Absolutely garbage. And it's crazy how, look, Adam Silver has been doing pretty solid with the NBA. Batman kind of saved his ass this year because he handled the bubble really well for the NHL.
Honestly, amazing. Batman's not the worst commissioner in sports.
Crazy.
I would never have predicted that ever.
Goodell is Goodell. I don't think I'll ever like him, but Don Garber is the best freaking commissioner in professional sports. I just wanted to give him some love there.
No, I agree. I think he tends from time to time to get. I think it's a lot from the pro rel zealots. Shout out to Ted Westervelt if he ever listens to this podcast. I think he gets a lot of, and also the whole idea of Tam Gam. I think it's a little ridiculous, but. I mean, he's been a big help for the league. He's been there since the beginning. So I mean,
but imagine his job though. He has to take the world sport in soccer, and soccer leagues are ran a lot different than American professional leagues, and he also has to implement some American professional stuff like playoffs and different stuff like that, right? I think he's done a solid job. His job is not easy as well. His job is not easy. Yeah. So back to it, guys. So I figured I want you guys to tell me a match that is calling your attention. What match, other than, of course, the Philadelphia Union, is going to make you want to sit on your couch, grab you a beer, grab you a good bowl of wings, a nice slice of pizza, whatever you're eating on that day, and what's going to make you sit there for 2 hours and watch a game? Tim, I'll let you start here first, buddy. What's the game that's going to put Tim on his ass on the couch this weekend, other than the Union?
Other than the Union, I'm going with Toronto FC versus Miami for the obvious reasons. I want to see if Toronto can kind of bounce back and make it a race to the last game of the season for the Union for the Supporter Shield. And they have another quote-unquote home game up in Connecticut there against Inter Miami. Gonzalo Higuain, Blas Matuidi coming up there to UConn to try to play the spoiler to keep their playoff hopes alive, because now Miami, while they finished last night in a playoff spot because of their points, now that has changed to points per game. Like we were saying, they've been leapfrogged by Chicago. So they need all of the wins that they can get here in their last few matches to make the playoffs. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting match. And obviously for all of the implications for playoffs, for Supporter Shield, that's the one that's grabbing my attention the most. So I will be watching ESPN Plus because that is where that one will be for that one.
Shouts to ESPN Plus. Absolutely. That's a good one. I'll be interested to see that one as well. Can this Miami team create an upset here and help us out a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Justin, what's gonna put you on the couch for a little bit?
I've been tossing up a few games. The Toronto game definitely caught my eye. And I thought about the Hudson River Derby. Just because, when it comes to Red Bull and NYCFC, it's fun to see them beat the heck out of each other. Although for some reason I haven't been able to watch many of their games lately. I don't know why. ESPN Plus,
blacks you out sometimes.
Blacks out the Red Bull games I don't get. So based on what I'm going to be able to see, I can't believe I'm saying this. I actually want to watch New England and DC.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, I was going to go with Sporting KC in Minnesota. But I think, Minnesota seems to be getting a playoff spot, so that I'm not too concerned. The thing about DC, and it showed in the 2-2 draw that we got against them, DC is scrapping for that last playoff spot. I can't believe they're still in it, but they've been looking good. Obviously, the Revolution are making the playoffs. That's obvious. But that normally the firing your coach towards the end of the season gets you maybe a game or two boost. DC has definitely kind of figured things out. I mean, I don't think Bill Heaney's that good of a goalie. I think the defense, though, with Birnbaum and Briant, they got some good young players. Emil Assad, I think Julian Gressel and Sorga, they're finally trying to figure things out. Kamara seems to be worth him coming back to the league. And when you got New England, I mean, Matt Turner definitely not far away from a European move.
Yeah.
Cody Kessler, I think, potentially could be Rookie of the Year. Andrew Farrell, a solid center back. Tajon Buchanan, I hope for his career he leaves New England because he seems to be the only thing that's affected the Union. The guy has been playing out of his mind. Carlos Hill's back, so that'll be another interesting one.
God.
Yeah.
I can't believe Diego Fagundes is still with the Revolution 20 years later, and he's still only like 27. And Adam Buxa, another Eastern European DP who seems to be playing half decently. So that game will definitely that will be an ugly game. I have no doubt about that. So that, as much as I will be 100% keeping my eye on the Toronto game, obviously for Sports Shield's sake, the New England game is going to keep my eye simply because, I mean, when you have Bruce Arena with that team and the way that DC's been playing, I have to imagine that's going to be like a 2-1 or 1-0 game. It's going to be a very ugly game. So I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah.
That's a curveball for sure. I definitely not expect that from you for sure, man. Look, I will say the Western Conference, they got some exciting games this weekend, guys. Like you got SKC in Minnesota. We have LAFC going up against San Jose. We have RSL going up against an LA Galaxy without GBS. That should be interesting as well.
That was a big one. Can you believe, though, Matias Almeida bringing San Jose into the playoff spot? I still cannot believe that after the way they were playing after getting roused by Portland and Seattle within like a week and a half.
You know what I'm gonna watch though, guys? You know what I'm gonna watch? I'm gonna put my feet up while I'm watching the Hudson River Derby. You know why, guys? Because I'm gonna enjoy watching both these terrible minor league New York teams battle it out for the minor league championship game. While us, the Philadelphia Union, we're at the top, guys. We're at the top. I'm going to enjoy watching those two teams beat each other up for a freaking draw. It's going to be exciting. Now, look, honestly, guys, I think that isn't a solid derby in the MLS. I know we always talk about the MLS manufacturing derbies because of location, but it is honestly a pretty solid derby. They have some pretty solid moments. So I'm definitely going to support the MLS culture, and I'm going to enjoy watching the Hudson River Derby as both teams that I hate beat up each other. So that should be very fun to watch. All right, guys, that is another episode of DOOP by the River. Guys, any last words for our listeners?
I got one. I just want to say shout out again to the Philadelphia Union. So I don't know if you guys saw the story actually at last night's game. There were a few fans that were saying some things towards players that were not great, using some racial slurs and some homophobic slurs. And some other fans caught it on video and tried to get the club's attention. Unfortunately, those fans were not able to be kicked out of the game last night, but the video kind of blew up after the match. And the club put out a statement today that they are kind of investigating that, finding out who those fans are. Since there were a lot less people in the stadium, they could kind of identify it a little bit easier. They're going to find those people, and they're going to ban them for life from any event at the club, at the stadium or anything like that. So I just want to give a huge shout out because we can't have that in our game, especially now with the Union being so good. Like, there's no room for that. We should always be talking about the things that are happening on the field. We should never have these instances of fans yelling at players, whether they be the opposing team or anything like that. I'm all for good heckling in the stands, but you can't bring issues of race and sexuality in there. Like, there's no room for that. So I wanted to give a shout out to the union for denouncing that and for making sure that those fans don't come again.
I'm so glad you always bring that up, man. So glad. Go ahead, Justin.
And on that point, I'm gonna give a shout out to all the union supporters that I've seen, not only on the Discord server that I'm a part of, but Twitter in general.
Yeah.
With this year has come with a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Someone as myself, someone who is of higher risk, so I'm not at the games, and has family members that are immunocompromised, so I try to limit my travel. It is something that I am glad to be able to see this stuff on TV. And when I was excited about the win, and then I saw these videos about these slurs, and it kind of broke my heart.
Yeah.
It's something that no one's perfect, but this is something that absolutely should not be a part of the game. The game of soccer has had an ugly mark when it comes to racism, sexism, homophobia, you name it. But I think, as the game of soccer has evolved, I think people have realized that obviously this stuff is wrong. And the union fans, especially this year, with fully supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, the Black Players Coalition. I know myself and several others have bought Warren's Black Players Coalition T-shirt. That is something that that I do firmly stand behind. And for Jim to have basically said, if you do not believe in these views, don't come to the stadium.
Yeah.
And the team has backed that up in tenfold. And I think it's definitely helped the fans obviously stay a lot more. So shouts to all the union fans who are making this. I say it gets me a little emotional, a little teary eyed. But
I hear you, man.
Soccer has always been an important aspect of my life, and to see people rally behind something that means a lot to a lot of people, it is big. So I just overall just shouts to all the union fans who have clearly made a point to tell the team that obviously they won't stand for this.
No, 100%, guys. We have to also remember too that it's important that we start this culture now and we hold each other accountable. Like, look, this team is getting good. It's going to continue being good, and it's how Philadelphia works. When there's a winning team, those 4-for-4s, those 4-for-4 fans, they're eventually going to start coming around and start enjoying the Philadelphia Union game the same way that we do. But it's important that we hold fans the same accountability, no matter if it's you've been here since day one or if you're coming here now. The last thing I want to see is the Philadelphia Union on Twitter. I don't want to see the crap that I see in Lincoln Financial Field. I don't want to see those fights in Section 133. I don't want to see that. That doesn't belong in Chester. We have created a peaceful place where people can enjoy Philly sports and a beautiful game. So let's keep it like that. I applaud those fans for calling them out. And of course, my soccer team always doing the right thing. And again, they did the right thing. So big shout out. And I appreciate you, Tim, for always bringing up those different things that I always forget about, but I always can count on you for always bringing it up. So thank you again. Absolutely. All right, guys, that's another episode of DOOP By The River. Thank you so much for listening yet again. Guys, don't forget, Justin, where can people find you on Twitter, man? You got a great Twitter account.
On Twitter, you can find me at UnionNut26. You can also find me on Instagram at GoofyGoober26. And if you want, you can join the Sons of Ben Discord and follow the Union Happy Hour. We go every Friday. Definitely gets fun, gets late in the night. So like I said, just Union fans doing it. But guys,
I'm wild on there, guys.
I'm glad to be a part of the show.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you on here, man. All right, we'll definitely link up again, guys. Until next time, don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast. It would truly mean the world to us. That is Justin Freiberg, and that is Tim Lovinguth. I'm in Barcelona, Philly, and we're telling you guys to DOOP on. We'll talk to you guys very soon.